Have you ever noticed something strange? The people who are good for you often feel boring, but the people who confuse you, challenge you, or keep you guessing can feel impossible to resist. You know they're probably not right for you. Your friends can see it. Sometimes even you can see it. And yet part of you keeps getting pulled back in. Why? Why do some people feel like home while others feel like destiny? And why is it so often the second group that ends up breaking our hearts? The answer has less to do with love than most people think, and much more to do with psychology. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that what feels familiar must be right. But familiarity and compatibility are not the same thing. In fact, they're often completely different things. The human brain is constantly looking for patterns, and when we meet someone who reminds us, consciously or unconsciously, of emotional experiences we've had before, something strange happens. They feel familiar. They feel understandable. They feel significant, even if those old experiences weren't actually healthy. The brain isn't always searching for happiness. Often it's searching for what it already knows. Many people confuse intensity with connection, but they aren't the same thing. Connection feels safe. Intensity feels urgent. Connection grows steadily. Intensity feels explosive. The problem is that intensity creates powerful emotions. When someone is unpredictable, hot and cold, available one moment and distant the next, your brain becomes hyper-focused on them. Every interaction feels important. Every text feels meaningful. Every small sign of affection feels like a victory. And because the emotional highs feel so strong, it's easy to mistake them for evidence of a deeper connection. But often what you're feeling isn't intimacy, it's uncertainty. Humans naturally value things that seem difficult to obtain. The harder something feels to get, the more valuable it can appear. This is why emotionally unavailable people can seem so captivating. Not because they're better, not because they're more compatible, but because they're harder to reach. The pursuit itself creates emotional investment, and once we've invested enough time, energy, and emotion into someone, walking away becomes much harder. We start believing that all the effort must mean something. Surely they must be special, otherwise why would we care this much? But effort and compatibility are not the same thing, either. There's a popular idea that if the chemistry is strong enough, the relationship is meant to be. Reality is often messier. Chemistry is real, but chemistry isn't wisdom. Chemistry doesn't tell you whether someone can communicate. Chemistry doesn't tell you whether they can commit. Chemistry doesn't tell you whether they're capable of building a healthy relationship. It simply tells you that there's attraction. And attraction, by itself, isn't enough. Some of the strongest chemistry people ever experience happens in relationships that are completely unsustainable. This is one of the hardest truths to accept. Healthy relationships often feel less exciting in the beginning, not because something is missing, because something harmful is missing. There's less uncertainty, less guessing, less emotional whiplash, less drama. For people who are used to intensity, that stability can initially feel unfamiliar, and because it's unfamiliar, it can feel less exciting. But over time, healthy relationships reveal a different kind of attraction, one built on trust rather than unpredictability, one built on consistency rather than confusion, one built on peace rather than emotional chaos. Sometimes the people who feel right aren't actually right. They're simply activating something unresolved, a familiar wound, a familiar dynamic, a familiar emotional pattern. And because the pattern feels familiar, it feels meaningful. But not every strong feeling is a sign. Not every obsession is intuition. Not every emotional connection is a healthy one. Sometimes what feels like destiny is actually repetition, the mind trying to solve an old problem through a new person. The people who break unhealthy relationship patterns eventually make an important shift. They stop asking, "Who am I attracted to?" and start asking, "Why am I attracted to them?" That's a very different question, because attraction tells you what you're feeling. Understanding tells you where those feelings are coming from. And once you understand that, you become much less likely to mistake emotional intensity for genuine compatibility. The wrong people often feel right because they trigger something familiar, a pattern, a wound, a hope, a story your mind has been trying to finish for a long time. But familiarity isn't proof. Intensity isn't proof. Chemistry isn't proof. The healthiest relationships are rarely the ones that keep you guessing. They're the ones that allow you to stop guessing altogether. And sometimes the biggest sign that someone is right for you isn't how intensely you feel about them, it's how safe you feel being yourself around them. If you made it this far, here's a little bonus. You can get 30 days free of Kindle Unlimited using the link in the description. If you're interested in psychology, relationships, personal growth, or understanding yourself better, there are thousands of books available that can help you go deeper into these topics. Reading is one of the best investments you can make in yourself.